Good morning and welcome to Give Me Credit. I'm J.S. Waldo and I'm here again with my friend John Mackey, a credit genius. And we have a really interesting topic that we're going to start talking about today. How you doing today, John?
Good. How about yourself, Jess?
Doing great, doing great. You wrote some articles. I follow you on Substack. I invite everybody to follow you on Substack. You wrote an article about a couple of them about the U.S. credit system.
Right.
And not everybody understands the credit system the way you do, and it's been very eye-opening for me. So I thought that we would start a series of podcasts where we talk about, we're going to dive deep in your head. We're going to talk about the U.S. credit system, but you have some very interesting ideas about how it could be fixed even. So, and with that, I'd like to just jump into the credit reports and credit scores. Give us a brief summary of the system and let's dig in.
Well, it's one thing to sit around and criticize credit scoring, debt collection, whatever. It's easy to criticize. But what happens if someone says, well, then you fix it? Okay, I did. And what I wanted to do was go over those because we know that the U.S. credit reporting system is outdated. It's opaque, meaning you can't view it very clearly, and it's harmful to some consumers. We've got multiple inconsistent scoring models that create a tremendous amount of confusion for borrowers and lenders. Errors, unverifiable data, lack of accountability. And then you've got the long-lasting penalties. So how do we come out from underneath this? Prior to 1970, which is when the Fair Credit Reporting Act began, they kept everything on you forever. That's why the time limit came in at 7 years. And the first one I want to go over here, my throat's going to go, is what I'd like to see is the adoption of FICO 10T universally.
So
In
we're
other
talking
words,
about the scoring model.
yeah, there are too many of them. I mean, some models use FICO 2, FICO 4, FICO 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 10T. If you apply for one credit card, they're only pulling from TransUnion, and that's FICO 4. And then you go for a home loan, and they're using FICO 2, FICO 4, FICO 5. Somebody asks you what your credit score is, and you go ape because you don't know which one it is, or so they'll quote one that they've maybe seen on Credit Karma,
Credit Karma. Yeah.
right, which has nothing to do with anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the biggest problem. So my solution is this, is let's adopt one method. And if FICO 10T is the one that they're going to, and I believe that they should, because they're including new algorithms in this, and go with it universally. It leverages trending data. Now, some of the impacts might be a greater consistency across lenders. So you know where you stand. You could tell me what your score is, and it's going to be that for this, for applying for a credit card or a debt, for net debt, for a home loan, whatever. And I believe it's going to be more predictive,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to get more predictive and accurate lending.
Yeah,
Um,
that makes a lot of sense. And I'm going to just stop you here for a minute.
yeah,
I'm going to tell you that being in the mortgage industry for over 30 years, I had no clue we had that many models for FICOs. None at all until I started reading you. I had no clue that there was tens and fours and this and that. All I know is I had a tri-merge in front of me. That's all I knew.
right.
So it's very interesting, and I don't think the average consumer understands that either, that they have all these models and nobody knows who's using what and why, and That's why when, as a consumer, you go and you're applying for credit and they're like, no, your score is not 640. I don't know what the hell you were talking about. Your score
Right.
is 605, because they're using a completely different model. And whap, you're like, oh my gosh, what happened?
So all the
So,
consumers are dazzled. It's a
yes,
dazzle me with brilliance or baffle me with BS. And
exactly.
and that's what's going on. Nobody knows what the hell's going on. And you provided the precise point that I argue is
Yep.
that we've got a person, and I'm not criticizing,
No,
person such as you, 30 years in the business, loan
and
officers,
no
multiple
clue.
years, and no one knows what scoring models they use. They even tell you on the credit report what they're using, FICO 2, 4, and 5, but no one defines it. No one lets you know. And all
Right.
the scores are different. So the question comes up, why is my score different on these TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian? Well, that's because they collect different data. No, that's not the reason why. That's part of it. Most of them have, the majority of them have the same data, but it's a different algorithm they use
Got
for
it.
FICO 2, FICO 4, and FICO 5.
Yeah. So, I mean, your solution is dead on. It makes perfect sense. Adopt the FICO 10T across the board. Everybody just decide and do it. That would solve that issue.
That's right. That's
Seems
my
like
opinion.
it seems like a very good idea to me. So, what else? What else is the next one you want to?
Well,
You mentioned the lifespan of credit.
yes. The problem is that negative trade lines linger for a long time. They can linger up to 7 years. So the question becomes, why 7 years? Why not 8? Why not 10? Why not 2?
Yeah.
What is it about the scoring system that where they just say it's 7 years?
Okay, but I'm going to stop you there because I think there's something important to understand here.
Okay.
It's 7 years from the date of last activity. That's an important one because some
Right.
people think, okay, I have this collection account, say it was $200, and it's been there for 3 years. It was on there since 2023, but I just paid it. So now it's 7 years from the date of last activity.
From the
So
date that you paid it off. That's correct.
exactly. Exactly. I just want to make sure we make that point because that confuses people. They see the open date, but it's the date of last activity. That's also reported on the credit report. So you'll see that date. That's the date you go on after. On. You go on the day on last
Right.
activity. Okay.
And my training on credit and credit scoring will bring that up.
Cool.
So I appreciate you bringing that up because that's absolutely true. It's the date
Mhm.
of last activity, the last negative activity. To be precise, it's 30 days, a month and a day beyond the date of last activity is when the time starts, the seven
There you
years.
go. There
Okay,
you go. So right now it's 7 years. Continue. Didn't mean to interrupt you.
right. But why
Yeah.
don't we limit it
Yeah.
to 2 years? People are saying, or the credit industry would say, that's too short. You can't judge it based on that. It's just too short. I'm going to disagree, and I'll tell you why. The
Okay.
FICO 10T's own system is monitoring your revolving debt over a 2 year period, and that's what they're judging. So if they're using that, they've now defined it.
Mhm.
Why not use that 2 year focus? It gets people out of trouble faster. It'll
Mhm.
reduce the amount of money they're spending in interest rates. And it's as simple as that. Reduce it to 2 years. I think it's
Yeah.
very simple.
Yeah, and I can tell you again, I can, as a lender, as an underwriter, I can bring it back to, we've talked about manual underwriting. When we have to look at derogatory credit, we're looking at the last 2 years. 2 years makes perfect sense.
Okay, you're proving my point.
Exactly.
And I know you're not trying to argue with me, but that's exactly where I'm coming from here.
Yeah.
Is that it should
Yeah.
be a 2 year period. I mean, in reality, if they wanted to make it 3 years, okay. But I think based on the information that they've already delved into, meaning the FICO 10T and the observation of a 24-month period for your revolving debt, okay, you defined it. So let's use it.
Right.
But as of
It's
right
been-
now, they're not.
No, it's 7 years.
Yeah.
So what about paid debt? How long should they do those?
You know, and as you brought up in a previous question, if you've got a bad debt out there and you pay it off at, let's say, at the 6 year mark, got a little money, somebody died, you inherited some money, and you paid that debt off. What would happen once you paid it off? It's through a debt collector. So you pay it off, and now in some states, it re-ages it. So now you've got another 7 years.
Right. That's how I understood it. Mm-hmm.
Okay. But it depends upon the state, to be
Okay.
quite honest with you. In the state
Okay.
of Minnesota, where I'm from, it does not, the state of Minnesota's Attorney General's office and the law specifies that that cannot reset the clock, paying it off. But there are many other communities and states in which they do.
Yeah.
You know, the other thing is when you pay off a debt, your score goes down because now you've taken something from 6 years ago and brought it front and center. And that's
Right.
what the credit score looks at. Why
Now
don't
we're
don't-
talking about negative debts, right?
these are paid, these are collections, correct?
Collections. Okay.
Right. And I guess it's misstated paid debts. I'm talking about paid derogatory debts.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what I wanted to just clarify.
So why do we punish people that have and want to pay their debt?
I agree. That makes no sense.
It doesn't, but it does in this situation where they're punishing a person for paying off a debt. Why would I do that?
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
Because now I'm starting the clock over in the majority of the states. I'm starting the clock over because I tried to do the right thing.
Correct.
And now I'm getting punished because now it's front and center and my score is going to drop, even though I just did something positive.
Correct.
That's not fair.
No, it's not. It'll also, by doing so, what I want to do is require immediate removal of paid debt collections. Most of the time, debt collectors put debt on your credit report as a method of collection, not as a method of trying to get it paid. It's a method of collection. They're using it to collect. So once you pull your credit report and you see you want something, they're using it as an enticement. There's another system that we have in America, and it's called the court system. Why not use that instead of putting it on the credit report? Make sense?
But if they don't put it on the credit report, how would a lender, like in my boat as an underwriter, see that this person is not paying their debt? Unless they go through the court, then I guess I would see judgments.
Yes, you would. Once you go through the courts, you're going to see the judgments because you're going to have through closing Not through closing, but on a resale, don't you pull the judgments or you do a
We pull,
lien?
we pull it on every single deal. The title's pulled on every single loan. So if
Right,
there are any liens, we know about it, but judgments show up on tri-merge too. If
right,
they don't show up on tri-merge, we're going to find it on the lien, the title.
correct.
Hmm. But how long does that take?
For a judgment?
Yeah. How long does it take to get a judgment against somebody as a consumer?
Well, most of the time they go through small claims courts. Most of the time they're credit card debts that are within the conciliation court purview. Those can be done relatively quickly.
Okay.
Banks, so a credit company, a credit card is issued by a bank. If it is deficient for 6 months and longer, for bank purposes, it has to be written off. Okay.
Hmm.
Try to make it clear here that being written off does not mean that they still can't collect on it. It just
Right.
means for tax purposes, they have the ability to write it off.
Yeah, so you bring up a good point. Why did they start putting it on credit reports when they could just go through the legal system, which we already had set up to go get judgments?
It's to wake somebody up and saying, you know, they don't have to put it on a credit report to notify you
Right.
to send those letters, which we're going to get into at another time. But they have to send those letters out anyway, legally. Do it that
Mhm.
way. Do it the old fashioned way, the right way. But it's to hurt people. That's why they're doing it. It's to hurt people.
So it's like a negative incentivization. I'm going to hit you when you're trying to do something so that you'll pay attention to me and pay me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, you want this house? You want this car? Um, Mainly it comes up at house time
Yeah.
because a lot of debt collectors don't report to all three bureaus. They might report to one or two. So if they put it on Experian and the car dealer you're going through only pulls from Equifax or TransUnion, they're not going to see it. Now, on the mortgage side, they are.
Yeah. Because we pull from all three.
Right.
So, okay, so that makes perfect sense. So what else? What else should change? The credit reporting agencies.
Yeah.
You've talked about that. The credit reporting agencies, they don't, we need to make them accountable. That's the word you've used.
Is it illegal for a credit reporting agency to have incorrect information on your credit report? No, it's not. It's only illegal if you challenge it and they validate and verify it. So anytime a creditor puts an item onto or gives it to the credit bureaus are not obligated to verify that that information is correct. I want
Yeah,
them to shift responsibility for
yeah,
verification onto data furnishers before it appears on reports.
you're right. They receive these reports, and these days they receive them electronically. They receive this data, and they don't even check it. They just put it on the report. And we've talked about the Fair Credit Reporting Act in the last two podcasts, and you said, check everything. We have a right for it to be accurate. But what's coming in, what came out of all of that is the onus is on us as the consumer, because the credit bureaus don't have to verify it. They just get this
Here's,
data and they just throw it out there, and therefore it's out there, it's live, and it's affecting your life.
well, therein lies the issue.
Yeah.
A creditor puts wrong information on your credit report, you, trusting everything that goes on in America, say, I guess I'm just going to go borrow money. And now you've got stuff on your credit report that they're reviewing to reject you, and it's the wrong information. They're selling a product, the credit bureaus are, they're selling a product with wrong information on it. Would you buy a car that's bad? Would you buy a home that's bad?
Mhm.
Why do we do it with credit? So judgments are being made. About the credit
Yes.
report.
Mhm.
It
Well,
doesn't make
judgments
sense.
are being made about the consumer based on that credit report, and that data hasn't been verified.
Right. Well, we're
Yeah,
making judgments on it.
mhm. Yeah, that's just not right. You're right. That should change. So if that changed, it would be better data integrity. A person like me as an underwriter would be able to know I'm looking at some verified data here. Doesn't mean everything's still going to be perfect. You still have, your Fair Credit Reporting Act to protect yourself, but it could make the system a little better.
Yeah.
And like you said, reduced consumer disputes. I think that those are excellent points that we've just made. And I think it also leads us directly to what we want to say every single time. Get your free credit report. Now that you understand just even these basics, because these suggestions, John, these could be put into place exactly like you said and could change everything. But right now they're not in place. We're going to talk about more of these in our next podcast. But right now, where do they get their credit report, John?
Annualcreditreport.com.
Exactly. So we invite you to we beg you, please go get your own personal credit report at annualcreditreport.com. The other thing I want to ask of you is to subscribe to us. Follow us on Substack, follow us on YouTube, however you're watching this podcast, subscribe to us or listening to this podcast. Give us some questions. Let us know what you want us to talk about next. We will be finishing challenges that we have with the system right now, and John's great ideas. Hopefully someone's listening. Maybe we can change this world. But give us your feedback, because we really are here to help you. Send us your questions. What would you like to add, John?
No, I think you're hitting it spot on. We need, I feel like Department of Redundancy department. We're saying the same thing over and over and over again. Why is that? Because it's not happening. People don't know about credit reporting. They don't know how to read, their own credit reports. We don't know the fact that we're trusting a product to make financial judgments on, in which there probably are some mistakes on that could raise your score. But nobody's interested in that. Nobody. I'm talking about in general. We're not interested in fixing that part of it, because that makes the credit card companies and the car companies more money. And if we can make more money, why would we fix a system where we're making more money at? And I just think we need to take control of this whole problem and this whole issue. And
at that point, where we're at right now is it's in our hands as the consumers to take control. You take control by getting that credit report, reviewing it. If you need help, contact us. We're here to help you. And we're easy. DM us, comment, whatever you need. Email, easy to find. We're both on Substack. And we're here to help you.
Yeah.
So thanks for getting together today. Thanks for listening. Again, I invite you all to subscribe, leave us comments. John, I will see you next time, where we're going to talk about more solutions.
More solutions. Okay.
Excellent.
Have a good night.
You too.